What happens when a Hollywood superstar walks onto a daytime talk show set expecting to promote a movie, and instead finds himself in the middle of a live debate he didn't see coming? Make sure to subscribe to Final Take Files, and like and comment for more talk show coverage. So the moment starts like any other episode of The View. The audience is clapping, the theme music fades out, and the hosts are smiling at the camera. Whoopi Goldberg leans forward at the table, shuffling her cards. Whoopi, we are back, and we have a very special guest joining us today. You know him as Thor, you've seen him in action films, dramas, everything. Please welcome Chris Hemsworth. The audience erupts. It's loud, excited, that daytime crowd energy. Chris Hemsworth walks out smiling, waving, doing that slightly bashful nod he always does when applause goes on a little too long. He hugs Whoopi, then makes his way down the table. Quick hug for Joy Behar, a handshake for Sunny Hostin, and a friendly hello to the rest of the panel. Chris, wow, this is a very warm welcome. I might just stay here all day. Joy, oh, don't say that. They'll make you co-host. Audience laughs. It's light. Easy. Exactly what you'd expect. Whoopi, so you're here talking about the new film, right? Big action, big stunts. Chris, yeah. A lot of running, a lot of jumping off things I probably shouldn't jump off. Joy, you don't use stunt doubles for that body, do you? More laughter. Chris chuckles. Chris, only when insurance says I have to. The first few minutes are smooth. They roll a clip. Audience applauds. Chris talks about training, family, balancing work and life. He mentions Australia. He talks about raising kids away from Hollywood. Then the shift begins, subtle at first. Joy, you've been very open lately about taking time off, focusing on family, even talking about health after that genetic testing story. It made headlines. Chris, yeah. It was part of a documentary series I did. Just kind of reassessing priorities. Joy, right. And during that time, you also made some comments about, how do I put this, stepping back from Hollywood noise. The audience quiets slightly. It's still polite, but attentive. Chris, sure. I think sometimes the industry can get a little loud. Opinions everywhere. It's healthy to unplug. Joy tilts her head, a small smile, but it's pointed. Joy, some people heard that as you saying you don't like celebrities speaking out politically. There it is. A little sharper. Chris, I didn't say that. Joy, well, you implied that actors should stick to storytelling. Those were your words. Sunny jumps in gently. Sunny, I remember that quote too. It caused some debate online. Whoopi, let's let him clarify. Chris shifts in his seat. Still calm. Chris, I think context matters. I was talking about myself. I said I prefer to communicate through work. That doesn't mean others shouldn't speak up. Joy, but you don't. Chris, I do, when I feel informed. I just don't think being famous automatically makes someone an expert. A few audience members clap. Not loud, but noticeable. Joy, well, nobody here claims fame makes them experts. A couple of audience oohs. The tension rises just a notch. Whoopi, Joy. Joy, no, I'm just saying, we all have platforms. And when there are issues affecting real people, silence can sound like indifference. The crowd murmurs. Chris keeps eye contact. Chris, I understand that. But I think there's a difference between silence and choosing when to speak. Joy, or choosing not to upset fans. That line lands heavier. You can hear a split reaction. Some claps, some discomfort. Chris, that's not it. He's still composed, but his tone firms slightly. Chris, I've supported causes privately and publicly. I just don't think every Instagram post needs to be a headline. Sunny, but visibility does matter. Chris, it does. But authenticity matters too. Whoopi leans in, sensing the temperature. Whoopi, let's slow this down. Chris, are you saying celebrities should stay out of politics? Chris, no. I'm saying we should be responsible. There's nuance. Joy, But you understand why people might feel frustrated when someone with a global audience says, "I'm stepping back from the noise," during very loud times. Chris, I do. But stepping back from noise doesn't mean stepping away from compassion. The audience applauds that one more strongly. Joy, okay. But when you say noise, some of us hear activism. Chris, no, I mean outrage culture. The constant demand for immediate opinions. He pauses. Chris, sometimes I think we rush to react instead of listening. There's a moment of silence, that live TV silence where everyone's deciding whether to push or pivot. Whoopi, well, this is interesting. She half smiles at the camera. Whoopi, because this is exactly the kind of conversation people are having at home. Joy isn't backing off. Joy, you're in a powerful position. You play heroes on screen. Kids look up to you. Don't you think that comes with responsibility beyond movies? Chris, I absolutely do. Joy, then why not use your voice louder? Chris, because volume doesn't equal impact. A louder "oh" from the audience. Sunny, okay, that's a point. Joy, but it can equal awareness. Chris, and awareness without understanding can become division. The room tightens. This isn't promotional anymore. This is debate. Whoopi glances at the producers off camera. You can almost feel the clock ticking toward commercial break. Whoopi, all right, we have to take a quick break. Audience groans lightly. Whoopi, but when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation because clearly, we've got some opinions at the table. Chris smiles, but it's no longer just promotional energy. It's focused. Joy, oh, we're not done. Audience laughter, but it's nervous laughter now. As the music swells and the camera pulls wide, you can see Chris lean slightly toward Joy, saying something off mic. Joy responds, still smiling, but firm. The break graphic rolls. And just like that, what started as a routine movie promo has turned into something else entirely. A live debate about celebrity responsibility, activism, and whether staying quiet is ever truly neutral. And they're only getting started. The show comes back from commercial and you can feel the shift immediately. The applause is still there, but it's not just excitement now, it's anticipation. People know this isn't just a movie promo anymore. Whoopi, we're back with Chris Hemsworth, and before the break, we were having a pretty lively discussion. Audience chuckles lightly. Joy, lively is one word. Chris smiles, but he's more focused now. He leans slightly forward instead of reclining back like earlier. Whoopi, so let's continue it. Joy was asking about responsibility and visibility. Joy, right. Because here's the thing, nobody's saying you have to be a policy expert. But when major issues are happening, and someone with your platform chooses to stay quiet publicly, it does make people wonder why. Chris, and I'm saying I'm not always quiet. I just don't treat social media like a press conference. A few claps. Sunny, but social media is where a lot of people get information now. Chris, that's part of the problem. Audience reacts, half laugh, half gasp. Joy, so now it's a problem that people are informed? Chris, no, it's a problem when complex issues are reduced to hashtags. The room tightens again. Whoopi, okay, let's unpack that. Joy, because to some people, that sounds dismissive. Chris, it's not dismissive. It's cautious. He pauses, choosing his words carefully. Chris, I've seen colleagues post something well-intentioned and then get torn apart because they didn't phrase it perfectly. Or because they didn't include every angle. That doesn't create dialogue, it creates fear. Sunny, or accountability. Chris, accountability is important. But public shaming isn't the same thing. There's a louder murmur from the audience now. You can feel that people are picking sides. Joy, so is that what this is really about? Fear of backlash. Chris, it's about not pretending I have all the answers. Joy, but no one has all the answers. That's not the standard. Chris, sometimes it feels like it is. Whoopi nods slowly. Whoopi, I get that part. The internet can be ruthless. Joy, sure. But avoiding the conversation doesn't fix that. Chris, I'm not avoiding conversation. I'm having one right now. The audience reacts with a louder "oh" this time. Even Sunny smiles at that. Joy, you are. And I appreciate that. But this is controlled. This is moderated. This isn't you stepping into the chaos. Chris, why is chaos the standard? Sunny, because sometimes that's where change starts. Chris, or where it ends. The tension rises again, not shouting, but sharper now. Whoopi, let me ask something directly. Have you ever held back from speaking publicly because you were worried about losing fans? The audience goes quiet. Chris doesn't answer immediately. Chris, I've thought about how what I say affects not just me, but the people I work with. Crews. Studios. People whose jobs depend on projects succeeding. Joy. So that's a yes. Chris, it's a reality. There's scattered applause, a few people appreciating the honesty. Joy. But that's the influence part. When money becomes the factor, doesn't that dilute the message? Chris, I don't think protecting hundreds of crew members' jobs is dilution. Sunny, but would speaking out really cost them their jobs? Chris, in today's climate? It can cost something. Whoopi, like what? Chris, international markets. Partnerships. Distribution. That gets a reaction. People hadn't considered that angle. Joy, so you're saying global business interests are part of why celebrities stay neutral? Chris, I'm saying it's complicated. Joy, it always is. Chris, and that's my point. The audience claps louder at that one. Sunny, but you also benefit from that global system. Chris, absolutely. Sunny, so doesn't that increase responsibility? Chris, it increases responsibility to be thoughtful. Joy, or brave. That word hangs in the air. Chris, you think I'm not being brave? Joy, I think you're being careful. Some applause. Some groans. Chris leans in slightly, his voice calmer but firmer. Chris, I grew up far from here. I didn't come into this industry to be a political figure. I came in to tell stories. If I speak on something, I want it to be because I've done the work to understand it, not because I'm expected to fill silence. Sunny, but silence can be loud. Chris, and so can assumptions. Another wave of audience reaction. Whoopi, all right, let's bring this back to something specific. When major social movements were happening globally, people noticed you weren't as vocal as some of your peers. Joy, exactly. Chris, I donated. I supported organizations. I had conversations privately. Joy, but privately doesn't shift public narrative. Chris, public narrative isn't always shifted by celebrities. That earns applause. Sunny, sometimes it is. Chris, sometimes it distracts. That lands hard. Joy, you think activism distracts? Chris, no. I think celebrity-centered activism can. The audience splits again, louder this time. Whoopi, okay, that's a strong statement. Joy, so when actors speak out, they're distracting? Chris, no. When media coverage focuses more on which actor said what than on the issue itself, that's a distraction. A beat. And for the first time, Joy pauses before responding. Sunny, that's not entirely wrong. Joy, but attention is still attention. Chris, then let's give attention to experts, organizers, people on the ground. Whoopi nods slowly. Whoopi, he's not saying don't care. He's saying maybe redirect the spotlight. Joy, or maybe share it. Chris, I'm happy to share it. The audience applauds louder now. Joy, then why not stand next to it more often? Chris, I will, when I feel it's productive, not performative. There's that word. Performative. The crowd reacts immediately. Sunny, are you suggesting some activism is performative? Chris, I'm suggesting social media can turn anything into performance. Whoopi looks at the camera like she knows Twitter is already lighting up. Joy, So you don't see this conversation as performance? Chris: No. Because we're actually talking. That line lands. Big applause. Joy smiles, but it's tight. Joy: You're good at this. Chris: I'm trying to be honest. Whoopi checks her notes but doesn't look down for long. Whoopi: We have a few more minutes before we have to wrap this segment. The audience groans softly again. Whoopi: So I want to ask, has this backlash, or this expectation, made you reconsider how you'll approach speaking out in the future? Chris exhales slightly. Chris: It's made me more aware of how much people care. And that's a good thing. But I don't think shouting louder is the solution. Listening more might be. Joy: And what if people say you've been listening for too long? Chris: Then I'd ask them what action they want to see. A quiet beat. The energy is different now, less combative, more pointed. The conversation isn't over. If anything, it's deepening. And you can feel that part 3 is going to push this even further. When the show comes back again, the energy is different. It's not explosive, it's sharper. The audience applause feels more restrained now, like people are settling in for something serious instead of something fun. Whoopi: We're still here with Chris Hemsworth, and this conversation has clearly struck a nerve, in a good way. A few claps. Joy: Or a necessary way. Chris smiles politely, but he's fully engaged now. No more promotional posture. He's sitting forward, hands clasped on the table. Whoopi: I want to pivot slightly, because this isn't just about you. It's about celebrity culture in general. Joy: But he's part of that culture. Chris: Fair. Sunny: You said earlier that sometimes celebrity activism can become distracting. I want to understand that better. Because for some communities, seeing someone powerful speak up feels validating. Chris: I don't disagree with that. Representation matters. Support matters. Joy: So what's the hesitation then? Chris: The hesitation is when the support becomes about the celebrity instead of the cause. Audience murmurs. Joy: But isn't that partly media-driven? You can't control headlines. Chris: True. But I can control how often I step into that space. Sunny: Okay, but let me ask you something directly. If there's a major issue, human rights, civil rights, and other actors are posting, organizing, attending rallies, do you feel pressure? Chris pauses. It's a real pause this time. Chris: Yes. The audience reacts immediately, some applause for the honesty. Joy: Pressure from who? Chris: From the public. From peers. From my own conscience sometimes. Whoopi: That's human. Chris: Of course. But I also ask myself, am I adding value? Or am I just adding volume? Joy: Why do you see it as either or? Chris: Because attention is finite. If my face becomes the focus, then someone else's work disappears. Sunny: But your face can bring people to that work. Chris: Only if it's handled carefully. Joy leans in. Joy: Let's be honest. A lot of people feel like big stars sometimes stay neutral to protect brand deals. Audience reaction, louder this time. Chris doesn't flinch. Chris: I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. Joy: Okay. For yourself. Chris: I've turned down endorsements before. I've supported causes without cameras there. I don't advertise every decision I make. Sunny: But how would people know? Chris: They don't need to. That line gets a mixed response, applause and skepticism at the same time. Joy: See, that's where people get frustrated. Because public figures shape culture. Whether you ask for that power or not, you have it. Chris: I agree. But shaping culture doesn't always mean tweeting about every issue. Whoopi nods slightly. Whoopi: It can also mean how you treat people, what projects you choose. Chris: Exactly. Sunny: So is that where you prefer to make statements? Through film. Chris: Yes. Through storytelling. Through the kinds of characters I portray. Through the crews I hire. Joy: but storytelling is still filtered through studios. Chris, so is this show. The audience lets out a surprised, oh. Joy laughs, but it's tight. Joy, touché. Whoopi, okay, let's not turn this into network versus studio. Light laughter breaks some tension. Sunny, I want to ask about something specific. When other actors speak out strongly, sometimes aggressively, do you privately agree but publicly stay quiet? Chris thinks for a second. Chris, sometimes I agree. Sometimes I don't. But I respect that they're making their own choices. Joy, and you expect the same respect? Chris, yes. Joy, even when people say neutrality benefits the status quo? That question lands heavy. Chris, I don't see myself as neutral. I see myself as selective. Sunny, selective can look neutral from the outside. Chris, that's fair. There's a shift here. He's not defensive, he's acknowledging. Chris, I understand how it looks. I really do. But I also think there's room for different approaches. Whoopi, that's probably the heart of it. Joy, but do you acknowledge that for some viewers, this conversation feels bigger than strategy? It feels personal. Chris, I do. And I don't dismiss that. If someone feels hurt because they expected me to speak louder, I hear that. Audience quiets. Chris, but I can't build my voice around expectations alone. That line is calm but firm. Sunny, would you ever reconsider and be more vocal? Chris, if I feel informed enough and if I believe it would truly help, yes. Joy, so it's conditional. Chris, it's thoughtful. Whoopi smiles slightly. Whoopi, he's not budging on that word. Audience laughs. Joy, I still think there's a fine line between thoughtful and overly cautious. Chris, and I think there's a fine line between passionate and reactive. Another audible reaction from the crowd. Sunny, okay, that's fair. There's a moment where everyone at the table seems to recognize they've hit the core of the disagreement. It's not about whether to care. It's about how to care publicly. Whoopi, you know, this is why these conversations matter. Because at home, families are having this exact argument. Joy, probably yelling louder than we are. Audience laughs. Chris, I hope they're listening too. Whoopi looks toward the camera again. Whoopi, we're almost out of time. Audience groans again, but this time it feels genuine. They're invested. Joy, before we wrap this up, I just want to say, I respect that you're sitting here and not dodging this. Chris, I wouldn't come on a show like this and dodge. Sunny, and I respect that you admitted you feel pressure. Chris, I think anyone in this position would. Whoopi, final thought, one sentence. What's your responsibility as a celebrity? Chris pauses. Chris, to be sincere. The audience applauds, not explosive, but strong. Joy, my answer would be to be courageous. More applause. Sunny, to be accountable. Whoopi, to be human. There's something almost calm about it now. The tension hasn't disappeared, but it's settled into something reflective instead of combative. Whoopi, we'll be right back. As the camera pulls wide again, you can see Chris and Joy exchange a few quiet words off mic. No hostility, but still intensity. The audience buzzes louder than before. And you can already imagine that the moment the show ends, this conversation won't stay in the studio. When the show returns for the final segment, the mood is calmer, but you can tell the conversation is still sitting with everyone in the room. The applause is steady, not explosive. People are processing. Whoopi, we're back one last time with Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth smiles, a little more relaxed now. Whoopi, I think this was a good conversation. Joy, it was an honest one. Joy Behar turns toward Chris. Joy, and for the record, disagreement isn't disrespect. Chris, I agree. I appreciate the pushback. Audience applauds, louder this time. Sunny, that's what this table is for. Whoopi nods. Whoopi, and that's why The View exists. Different perspectives. They thank Chris for coming. He stands, hugs the hosts again, This time the energy feels different. Not tense. Just real. As he walks off stage, the audience gives a strong standing ovation, not because everyone agreed with him, but because he stayed and engaged. And then it happens. Within minutes of the episode airing, clips start circulating. Social media splits in half. Some users praise Chris for staying calm and calling out performative culture. Others side with Joy, saying celebrities can't hide behind thoughtfulness during serious times. Trending topics spike. Debate threads explode. Commentary channels pick sides. After the show, reports say Chris spent a few extra minutes backstage talking with Joy privately. No drama, just continuing the discussion. Producers later described the moment as heated but respectful. By the evening, the clip is everywhere. And now we want to hear from you. Was Chris right to defend a more selective approach to speaking out? Or was Joy right, that courage sometimes means being louder? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to Final Take Files for more real talk show stories.